Termites! Night 74. How's everybody feeling? Cozy? Won't this even, some people say, why do you have the fire on? I read all your comments. Well, 90% of them. Because it's cozy. I'm not cold in the house. I have the air conditioning on. But I do this for you guys, for you termites. So you feel connected. It's story time. You should have a fire and a nice blanket. This is my free Lewis Black cystic fibrosis blanket. And everybody who went to this event, they all claim it's the best blanket in the world. And I have no idea why. And then I gave one to my mom, and I shouldn't have. I should have kept it. Because she ain't giving that back while she's alive. What are we drinking, termites? This is super special. Because with Lewis, we went to Loch Ness. Because I said it was on my bucket list. So me, him, and some of his friends, we went to Loch Ness, and look what I brought back. Loch Ness Gin. I'm not even a gin person, but this is what they seem to like to make up there. So I bought this in some lady's garage, which means, I don't know, it looks legal. You know, it looks like there's nothing wrong with it. And you can get it online at lochnessgin.co.uk. Look, she even wrote it in handwriting. Batch number 9, distiller KCR, bottle 477. So, a little gin and tonic from Loch Ness, Scotland. By the way, there's a show on Netflix called Loch Ness. You should watch it. But I don't think it's on Netflix. I think you have to go through Acorn, the app. Worth it, though. I think it was the app $6. Totally worth it. I love anything. And the scenery alone in that show is worth it. And I know for a fact it's real because I've been there. It's not green screened. Okay, we're on chapter 41. I skipped a paragraph of her just saying she likes her T-Bird friends. I'm trying to help you guys out on that one, all right? Okay. Chapter 41, page 197, I guess? Yeah. Journalists have often referred to the 3 years from 1982 when I made changes for Arista to 1985 when I signed with Capital as my downtime. I would refer to this pandemic as my downtime. But even though I didn't have a recording contract, I never felt like I left the music, and the music never left me. I was playing shows and went to music events like I always had. I was living out on the ranch with my parents and hanging around Nashville. And in general, having a hell of a good time. Well, that's fine. When I wasn't on the road, my routine was to sleep as long as I could up in my second floor room at the Double T. That's her ranch that Daddy bought while she was gone. He just upgraded ranches. Then go up, saddle up one of the horses, take a ride, or maybe read the Nashville Enquirer to see what I was up to until I got bored. I like the Enquirer, too. I'm with Tanya on that. I know I shouldn't. I know that owner, David Pecker, I believe, Trumpy's friend. I know I don't buy it, but I do admit I leaf through it while I'm in line at the grocery store. Then I'd head to town to see what was happening on Music Row. There were lots of clubs and songwriters hung out. One of my usual haunts was Third Coast. Its nickname was the Rock and Roll Hotel because the place had rooms to rent, and when rock musicians came to town, many of them stayed there. Some stayed at my old stomping ground, the Spence Manor. That's where the chimpanzees wrecked the whole third floor. Remember that? What I would have given. But the Spence doesn't have a bar. That was sometimes an inconvenience. Staying at the Rock and Roll Hall meant you could party all night, then crawl up to your room and crash. It saved hassle and DUI arrest. That's right. That's thinking and drinking. I call that thinking and drinking. Think before you drink. Well, how are you getting home? There was no Uber back then. There were taxis, but probably not many. Many of us were drinking too much during those days, but not all of nightlife involved getting crazed. Just hanging around those bars with songwriters can be great, and I had a lot of those times. I still do, as a matter of fact. Unlike Hollywood, where everybody's posing and imaging when they go out to clubs. I've never heard that used as a verb, but I'm imaging. I'm going to start doing that. Do I appear as if I'm imaging? Nashville's night places are filled with writers and singers and industry people, mostly people who want to have a good time. I suppose there's some posing, but it's not the norm. I had a lot of fun during that time. As I mentioned earlier, being an entertainer sometimes means people will pick up your tab, and other times it means you get stuck with it. On the night at Third Coast, I was sitting with a girlfriend, talking and having some drinks. Seemed like every writer and musician in town stopped by the table. They'd order drinks and appetizers, take a while, maybe pitch me a song. Then they'd head on down the road. I never thought about who was paying for what. I guess they were paying their tabs. I guess they thought they were paying their tabs on the way out. After about 4 hours and 50 guitar pickers, the crowd dwindled down to just me and my girlfriend. When my friend got up to go to the bathroom, the waitress thought she was getting ready to leave the bar. She flagged her down and started adding up a huge pile of tickets. My friend looked down and about fainted. Nobody had paid for anything. Then she came back to our table. She was shaking her head. I guess you know those guys stuck you with their bar bills. I bet the bill is $300. About that time, Harlan Howard came in. Harlan has this great mane of white hair and would have been perfect for the role of God in the movie if George Burns hadn't grabbed it. He's one of my favorite people to be around anyway because he loves to laugh and have a good time. He's one of the few old-timey songwriters who's still writing as many hits as ever. That makes him not only one of the most talented guys in the business, but one of the richest. I can see what's coming now. We're going to ask Pawpaw Harlan to pay this bill. Harlan sat down and ordered a drink. Sat there a while doodling on a napkin. Then he said, you know how to pitch a song to a producer, don't you? I knew something good was coming. You find the song in the catalog that's the very best one for that producer's artist, and you put it on tape. Then you find 2 or 3 other ones that will work, but they're not perfect like the first ones. You put those on a different tape. Then you make your appointment, go in and play him the 2 or 3 that would work. He might hear something or not, but that time, he'll probably keep the tape. Then you thank him for his time and start to leave. When you're about to walk through the door, you pause and say, oh, by the way, here's something I wrote. Maybe you could tell me what you think. Then you lay it on him. Boom. He'll shake his head and say, I can't believe you didn't play me this one in the first place. I've got to have this one. I could just picture Harlan doing that too. He's not only one of the best writers to ever pick up a pen and a guitar, he's one of the slickest. He kept on sipping his drink and doodling on his napkin. You got a song idea, Harlan? Not yet, but before the night's over, I will. He thought it over a minute, and then he turned to me. Tanya, you know what a songwriter's life is, don't you? I had to admit I didn't. It's just one big bar napkin. I'm with Harlan. All of my jokes I never write out a joke. I just think something enters my mind, and I put one word on a bar napkin. Sometimes there are multiple words about different jokes on that same bar napkin, and God forbid somebody throws that out or I lose that bar napkin. I'm with Harlan on that. I don't write. Like, who writes? I see comedians that write jokes on, write whole jokes. I'm like, that's writing. We're not supposed to be writing, right? Are we? Well, maybe we are. Maybe that's why I'm sitting here unemployed right now. He finished his drink and asked the waitress for his bill as well as mine. I tried to protest, and he explained my bill, but Harlan wasn't having it. He insisted he was paying, and that's all there was to it. So I winked at my friend, waited for him to hand it straight back to me when he saw the amount. But when Harlan saw it was $400, he didn't flinch. He just handed over a credit card. Had a couple of drinks tonight, haven't you? I laughed and said 1 or 2. Ha, ha, ha. My drinking was only one of several painful subjects that I joked about. Uh-oh, we're getting serious. This just went dark. A minute ago, we're laughing because he paid a $400 bill. I didn't have the whole Glenn breakup in any better perspective, but I was trying to cover up the hurt and appeared Tucker tough in public. Tucker tough! Started making jokes about it during my shows. I'd sing changes with every bit of the pain the song deserves, and when the applause died down, I'd say, yeah, I'm missing some front teeth from a little ruckus we had a while back, but you should see his face. Oldest joke in the book, but if it works, it works. You're not a comic. You get full permission to use old jokes. It seemed like when I wasn't joking about my old problems, I was stirring up new ones. That's the spirit. That's what I'm looking for. Stay in denial, start over. That did not happen, except for the fact my teeth don't meet right. Seemed like when I first got back to Nashville, I was still running around with Dean Dillon. Our romance had heated up that night when I ignored his rush at Ed Bruce's house. Once I moved back, Dean and I started blazing a trail all over Nashville. We went public with both the relationship and the lifestyle. The lifestyle? Wow. We were doing drugs, and a lot of people in town knew it. Everybody, it seemed, except one of the tabloids who printed a story about clean living Dean saving me from my bad habits. Ha ha. They called him the good old Tennessee country boy, and I said I was looking for my roots in him. More likely, both of us were looking for Toot. That's what it says. Toot. T-O-O-T. I guess it means cocaine back then. I thought I was in the middle of the cocaine thing in the early 90s, but clearly I was late to that thing. But Dean and I didn't last. Dean was he thought he was looking for a permanent partner, and I wasn't. One person I met while I was out rocking around town back then not only came from a long line of friends, but also played a major role in Return to the Radio airways, was writing some of my biggest hits. When Paul Davis moved to Nashville from Atlanta, he was already a pretty successful pop songwriter with his top 10 hits like I Go Crazy. I remember that. I go crazy when I look in your eyes. I still go crazy. And then he wrote, 65 Love Affair. That was a fun little song. 65 Love Affair. Anyway, he told me he decided to move here because of family-like feel that exists amongst country singers. One of his first successes in Nashville was Meet Me in Montana, which was a huge hit for Dan Seals and Marie Osmond. I'm gonna have to ask the Google machine about that one because I kind of remember it, but not really. Paul's one of those non-judgmental people who doesn't have an unkind bone in his body. He's a tall, gentle man with a Mississippi drawl. Can't say I could reproduce a Mississippi drawl. And he's full of humor and wisdom. And I love being around Paul because even though he likes to party and have a good time, he has a calming influence on people that I could use every so often. That would be like Mr. Jeff Foxworthy. Just a calming influence. He'd absolutely have a beer with you, but he ain't ever going to go too wild, which I appreciate sometimes because sometimes I spend a little too much time with Mr. White, and you need a Foxworthy. Somebody to just calm the situation down. Let's have 2 beers and go to bed. Let's not have 17 plus shots and end up in Mexico on a donkey. That would be Ron's idea of a Friday, and he'd see nothing wrong with that. We're almost done with this page, and then I'm going to put you termites to bed. I lived at the Double T, that's her ranch, for 8 or 9 months, then bought a small, rustic 2-bedroom home near Hickory Hollow Mall in Antioch, a suburb of Nashville, from songwriter Hank Cochran and his wife Susie. I called it the Song House because Hank had wrote a lot of hits there. It was always a great gathering place. There's a big stone fireplace, and inside was paneled with barn wood. I decided to buy the Song House at the Cochran's 1983 Super Bowl party. Susie showed me through the house, and as I went from room to room, I fell more in love with it. I liked everything from the rugs to the kitchen table. Hank came up to me and mentioned he'd been thinking about selling the house. I told him I'd not only buy the house, but everything in it. Pack up your underwear and your song awards, Hank. I can move in next week. It happened almost that fast, too. Hank and Susie moved out, and I moved in within the month. Well, I don't know. What about the horses and stuff at the ranch? All right, termites. We're making our way. We're on page 200. For the record, there's 300. A little bit more, but I don't want to wear you out. We don't need to read the last page, I don't think. Look, there's pages for me to draw in when I'm done. Maybe it's an autograph page. Just blank pages. Somebody messed up there. All right, termites. Well, I'm going to start a podcast, termites. It's going to be called Madigan's Pubcast. It will not be story time. These will remain different. Don't freak out. Don't worry. You guys are special. This is a special place. Now, I do have a different book I want to show you I have, but I can't reach it. You know what? I can't reach it from here, so I'll save it for the next video. You'll see. It's the Mary J. Trump book. Do you guys want to hear that book? I did a little preliminary reading. It's not very funny. It's not. But if you want, but it's good. It's interesting if you're into psychology. She goes through the whole family dynamics and all that. And you see how Donald was a mean little fucker even when he was young. He had a little brother. He tormented the shit out of that guy. He's still alive, too, Robert. He's the one who filed a lawsuit from ICU. I don't know how you do that. Against Mary. They didn't win that case. Book's here anyway, isn't it? Amazon. Ding dong. Hup, guess who lost a lawsuit? You, Robert. So we can read that. I have a Loretta Lynn book that I think, if you think this is what the fuck, Loretta Lynn, we're talking about squirrel stew, how you make it. She lived in a holler in Kentucky. Or if there's any suggestions, termites, if there's something you really want to hear, I can get anything on Amazon. Be here in a day. So for the time being, we'll put you termites to bed. Get your summer sheet. Get your favorite pillow. Get that pillowcase nice and cold. Climb under that sheet. Tell yourself, you're a good termite. You're a worthy termite. You're a termite that can do anything if you put your mind to it. But it's also okay to not think of shit and just be a termite laying around. Because that's what some termites do. They don't eat wood, they just lay around. Perfectly acceptable. All right, termites. I'm going to sign you off with some Loch Ness Gin. Ready? Night-night, termites.